Today we will start with the third sets of verses that influence my interpretation. There are 4 verses in the third set, which are verses 10.8, 10.20, 9.7 and 9.8. So let's go to these verses and see the message that they are trying to put across. We will start with verse 10.8, which says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhav samanvitah. This verse translates into I am the origin or source of everything. Everything emanates or emerges from me. And after knowing this, I am revered with utmost devotion by intelligent people. In this verse, God is explaining who He is. He says that He is the origin of everything, and everything, be it living or non-living, emerges from Him. In Gita, He has explained that He is the source of all non-living things in nature, as well as all living things. Both emerge from Him. So it is important to remember that everything emerges from God, and God is the origin of everything. This is verse 10.8. Moving forward to verse 10.20, let me read it for you. Aham Atma Gudakesh Sarv Bhuta Shay Sthitah Aham Adishcha Madhyam Cha Bhutanam Ant Evacha. God is saying, Hey Arjun, I am the soul inside every living being. I am the origin, middle and end of all living creatures. So if you read both these verses together, God is saying that everything originates from Him. He is the source of everything. He is the soul inside every living being. He is the beginning, middle and end of every being. So these 2 verses are important to appreciate and understand. Then I will go to 2 verses in chapter 9, which are 9.7 and 9.8. I will read both of these verses together. Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalp Kshay Punah Tani Kalpadav Visrijami Aham Prakritim Swam Avashtabhya Visrijami Punah Punah Bhut Gramam Imam Kritsnam Avasham Prakrite Vashat. God is saying that at the end of each cycle, all living beings merge into His primordial form or His material energy. He further adds that I create them again at the beginning of a new cycle. So that is verse 9.7. In 9.8, he says that establishing myself in my nature, I create them again and again in different forms. And the birth of such different forms isn't in their control or anyone's control. I find all these 4 verses, 10.8, 10.20, 9.7 and 9.8 quite important. And I feel it's necessary to read them together. Because if you look at them closely and together, God is saying, I'm the origin and source of everything. He says, I'm the soul inside living beings. And when the body or soul nears its end, it merges into my primordial form or my material energy. At the beginning of a new cycle or birth, presiding over my nature, I generate these myriad forms again and again in accordance with the forces of my natures. The generation of these new forms isn't in anyone's hands or control. Only I determine it. If I add to it what we discussed in an earlier episode, that God doesn't keep an account of anyone's good or bad deeds. He is not an accountant. And here he mentions everything merges into him or his material energy upon death, and that he creates them thereafter. We keep referring to the ideology of landing in heaven or hell based on one's good or bad deeds during life, as well as the ideology of rebirth after death. But I find this a caricature, and in my opinion, it is not the right interpretation. I will give you an example of what I feel is a correct simile. In childhood, we have all studied the water cycle. That is, in a big ocean, vapors get collected due to the heat of the sun, evaporate and form clouds. And when clouds condense, water drops fall on the earth, which then eventually goes via rivers and merges with the same ocean. I find this as a more appropriate simile because the all-pervading God is the water in this water cycle, be it the ocean's water or the rivers. Till the time you are on earth, you are akin to the water drop that falls from the cloud, which has the essence of God, which is a soul because it's also water. But that is your life, from the origin of a drop till it falls back on earth. So your life begins when a water drop originates and falls from the cloud, and it ends when it reaches the earth. After that, a new water vapor may be formed. It might have the same chemical composition, but that is not you. As you've already merged into the ocean and lost your existence, you've become one with God. During the journey of falling from the sky onto the earth, the ocean isn't keeping an account of the good or bad deeds of the water drop, as it eventually merges into the ocean itself and then loses its identity. The good or bad is relevant only till the time the water drop reaches the earth. When we talk about Dhyan Yoga, Karma Yoga and Gyan Yoga, it is during the journey of the water drop from its birth till its death, from the cloud till the time it reaches the earth. When life ends, you merge with the ocean and then you don't exist anymore. It is not like you get to negotiate on your good and bad deeds after death, based on which you will be put into heaven or hell. The reality is that you do not exist, you never existed, only He exists. You originated from Him, had a life, and eventually merged into Him, after which you cease to exist. There is no you. There might be rebirth, but that is not you. It might have the same chemical composition because it is originated from Him, but it's Him and not you. I think this is a better simile and therefore influences my understanding of the Gita. It is important to remind again why we are talking about these verses and why didn't we proceed with chapter 2 after chapter 1. This is because no one can do a literal translation of the Gita. This is an interpretation or smriti, and it has been since I discussed the first verse, which was Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samveta Yuyutsava Mamkah Pandavaschaiv Kim Akurvat Sanjay. I had talked about Paramahansa Yoganand's interpretation of Kim Akurvat. He had said that this is a metaphor which reflects the righteous battle inside you and every living being. Gita is all about interpretation, not about literal translation. While covering chapter 1, I have often referred to everything that I have learned from Paramahansa Yogananda and also mentioned other sources, although I am more influenced by Paramahansa Yogananda. The subsequent chapters also have Paramahansa Yogananda's influence. But Paramahansa Yogananda was a hermit, an ascetic, while I am a normal householder living a normal life. So while I am influenced by his versions and they have a material impact on my interpretation, there is also my own interpretation in this smriti. Before starting chapter 2, I am therefore talking about these 4 sets of verses so that you are aware of my sources of influence. It is not that Gita's interpretation is limited only to hermits and ascetics. Gita has been interpreted by Mahatma Gandhi and Bal Gangadhar Tilak as well. This version is therefore influenced by what appeals to me. There are a few chapters that don't appeal to me. For example, I can't relate to chapters 14, 15, 16 and 17 at all. I feel these don't add to my knowledge or provide me with insights that I'm looking for. The remaining chapters, that is chapters 1 to 13 and chapter 18, are sufficient for one's understanding, and I will only cover these in this smriti. All of you might be aware that when Tulsidas composed Ramcharitmanas in Uttarkand, he skipped the part where Sita gets banished, as that did not appeal to him. Similarly, certain things appeal to me and certain things don't, and therefore this interpretation will have that influence and cover the chapters that I think are important from my perspective. Thank you.